Welcome to the Deuce podcast. I am Brad.
And I'm Jeremy.
And Jeremy, I think this is 96 of the Deuce podcast.
Yeah, I think that's
We're getting up there. Yeah. And we are currently starting our new series called Prequels.
It's another loose deuce.
It's another loose deuce. Shake that loose deuce off. with prequel sequels, these are actually movies. We're going to be covering movies that were second in their installment, but they're actually prequels to the first movies.
Yes, that is correct.
And we are going to start off with the 2013 prequel sequel to 2001's Monsters, Inc. called Monsters University. The movie no one knew they wanted, let alone cared about. But Monsters University.
Yeah.
Because this is a movie where you would say it's not really important that we have it, but I'm glad we do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So this is the first time I've seen it.
Okay.
And
which I've seen this before.
Yeah, which mystifies me because usually
the other way around.
Yeah, right.
But I like monsters. Like, out of lots of people like Toy Story, and you know me, I got to be like not like everyone else. So I like Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
I liked Monsters Inc. So I watched Monsters University, and I was excited when it came out.
Oh, I'm just all about The Incredibles. So
yeah, and you're The Incredibles.
Yeah.
So,
so I don't know. Like So I was never like in a rush to see this movie. I heard okay things about it. I guess the reason I never was really that hot to trot about this one was just like I liked the story so much in the first one, and when they were like they're going back to basics and started doing the whole college thing, like I got real disinterested real fast.
Well, I think you should be disinterested because it's 12 years after the first movie. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a way long time. I mean, I guess The Incredibles was a long time.
Oh yeah, The Incredibles was a very long time.
But that's different. Like, it kind of set up for its own sequel in a way. You know what I mean? You always thought The Incredibles was going to have a sequel.
Yes.
You never thought, you were like, you know what I need? I needed to know what those two monsters were doing in college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
You did not think that's what you needed. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, like I don't know. I liked the story so much in the first one. I wanted to see what was going on with them, and then it's just kind of like, oh, that was it. That was done.
Voice talents that returned to this movie, of course, are Billy Crystal and John Goodman from the first movie, and Steve Buscemi from the first movie as well. Shows back up. But this cast is crazy. There are tons of people in this, including Helen Mirren shows up. We got Sean Hayes, Dave Foley, Tyler Labine, Nathan Fillion, Aubrey Plaza, Bobby Monahan, Julie Sweeney. Bonnie Hunt was in there. Did you get that? There's John Krasinski.
Wait, John Krasinski?
Yeah, he was the fighting Frank McKay.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Bill Hader was in it. Of course, John Ratzenberg reprises his role towards the end of the movie as the
Alfred Molina, Charlie Day.
Charlie Day. And Marsha Wallace is the librarian. So,
in her last role.
Yeah, was this her last role before she passed away?
This was her last role before she passed.
I mean, that's good, but hey.
Yeah. And Carlos Alzaraki was in this too.
Yes,
who you may know from Reno 911.
From Reno 911,
and Camp Lazlo.
I think he's very talented.
And the Taco Bell Chihuahua. Very funny.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't Taco Bell Chihuahua, but whatever. I guess you got to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think he's funny.
Yes. He's underrated voice actor.
Correct. And this movie is like, hey, do you think they were like, let's do a second Monsters, Inc. movie, but let's make it a prequel and let's make it Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds, the cartoon.
Yeah, I mean
it's a college movie. You know what?
Yeah, it is, and it's not my favorite genre as it is. So this one is a little tough for me.
Yeah.
I see lots of good in it, but it's just tough for me.
Yeah. we're probably going to differ a little bit about this movie.
I think so,
I'm
too.
going to have to try to persuade you, just like you've persuaded me on a bunch of things that that I've watched.
Like how I persuaded you on the Princess Diaries?
All right. And we're going to continue talking about Monsters, Inc. But first, did you know that we're no phonies?
Are we?
I guess. You tell me, Jeremy.
No, I'm no phony.
What's a no phony?
So, no phony, as in the No Phony Podcast
Network. That's what it
is. It's a podcast network. It's independent awesomeness. It's a wide group of podcasts that have all come together and really have learned to support one another, help each other out. A lot of podcast networks have very similar shows as far as like, hey, look, we all do like a specific genre so that it's easy to prop each other up because you know what works and what doesn't for that specific genre. The No Phony Podcast Network, a lot of times we're trying to help each other think outside the box and learning about each other's shows and what makes, each different genre tick. I mean, it's great. In fact, like this month, our featured podcast is the 390 Band, and they do a lot of like the music for a lot of different podcasts that we have on our network. So they've done some themes, done things like that. If you actually go to, you can find them at nophonynetwork.com. You can also, if you go to 390band.com, so it's just 390band.com, you can hear them there as well. So definitely go check them out. It's not like your normal podcast, but they have all sorts of great stuff on there. But I mean, there's a lot of different stuff about comics, dogs. You have like true crime. I mean, anything you can think of, like game show type podcasts, anything like that.
Were we talking about popcorn?
Popcorn?
Popcorn, you say?
Yes.
All right. This movie, like I said, came out in 2013. Pixar, so it became in between Toy Story 3 and Cars 3 came Monsters University.
Was it between, I thought, was it Cars 3?
Mm-hmm. This came out in the summer of 2013.
Yeah, but didn't Inside Out come out right after that?
In chronological. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm reading Randy Newman. Why am I reading Randy Newman's chronological? Because Randy Newman is part of the big Pixar universe.
Yes.
So you're probably right. It actually says Randy Newman's chronological.
Well, okay. So here was what happened.
So it's actually Cop Rock, Toy Story 3. The theme song to Monk. So I do apologize for that, folks. But, of course, Randy Newman did the soundtrack to this. I guess we can say that. So
yeah, that definitely puts it in.
I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong thing. I was on the. Yeah, you're right. Because Inside Out came like way.
So originally, it was supposed to be this, then The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur, right?
And then Inside Out. And they ended up delaying The Good Dinosaur for 18 months. And so there's this long gap between this and the next movie. So it was this, and then Inside Out came out. And then shortly after that, The Good Dinosaur came out.
Yeah.
So the schedule.
What do I know? I've got Randy Newman on the mind.
Hey,
you got a friend me. Just right there. Academy Award. We just wrote like the theme song.
I think this is the first one he didn't get nominated
Monsters,
for.
Inc.
This is the first one he didn't get nominated for.
Well, that's too bad because you should get nominated for everything.
Sure.
Do you want to do a Randy Newman impression? Put marbles in your mouth and start singing. There you go, Randy Newman. Boom. Do we have a plot summary for Monsters University?
Yeah, probably.
Or do I need to continue talking about Randy Newman?
I will talk. Don't, please, no.
Randy Newman got his start.
No. Randy Newman got his start when a sheep got hit by radioactive waste and turned into a sheep-human hybrid.
All right, we are talking about Monsters University.
Yeah. So here, let me just read this. So, a younger Mike Wazowski, the one-eyed monster we all know and well, no, that sounds terrible. Let me start over. When little Mike Wazowski went onto the scare floor, he wanted nothing more than to become a scarer. Years later, he spends the rest of his days at Monster University. That didn't sound right either. But then he meets this lazy student, James P. Sullivan, who is way more of a scarer than he is, and from a prominent scaring family. Mike competes for these scare games, but little does he know he needs a fraternity to do so. Soon he has a team of losers who are no good at anything. Mike has to be friendly to Sully when he joins their team. Well, now Mike and Sully have to win this in order to not just become the best of friends, but get themselves and their fraternity into the scare program. It's going to be a lot of hard work.
With the one-eyed monster?
Yeah, Mike Wazowski, everyone's favorite one-eyed monster.
Oh, gosh. So many jokes.
Yes.
So many jokes. All right. Of course, Mike is voiced by Billy Crystal.
Yes.
And Sully is voiced by John Goodman. So not only is it this Monsters University, but it's also, at the beginning, Monsters Elementary.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
We see Phil Tripp pull up with all the kids in Mike's class in elementary school. They're taking a field trip. And we've come to understand that Mike's kind of a loser.
Yes, he's the smallest kid.
Smallest kid. He's got one eye.
Yeah. And he's not really particularly scary.
Yeah.
He's like big on organizing and being friendly.
Yeah.
So super good qualities in monsters.
Super good qualities. They go to the the factory where they scare
the
people.
Monsters Inc. Energy Company.
Yeah.
And they get to the scare floor where they see they're all trying to scare each other, and he's just not doing a very good job. But then they see the scarers come to the floor, and they're all just so impressed. And Mike realizes the people tease him and say he's never going to be a scarer because he's too small. And he ends up going into the room with the guy who's doing the scaring and gets out of there. Like, he sees kind of how scaring works, gets out of there, and after that moment, he decides he wants to be a scarer.
Yeah, so he tags along, and then he comes out, and the guy gives him his monsters. You should go to Monsters U, huh? Yeah. And so now throughout his adolescence life, he's dreaming of going to Monsters U and to be a scare major at Monsters U, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, and here's where, pretty much our movie starts. You would say that would be kind of... This movie really doesn't have that much exposition to it.
No, it really doesn't.
Which is fine because
it's a prequel.
It is a prequel, which I'm almost glad it doesn't.
Yeah.
It almost relies on. It doesn't have to rely on that.
The exposition kind of stuff I find happens at the end of the movie, like before the credit rolls. Like when they're looking through his locker.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where it's almost like a reverse exposition.
Yeah, setting up a
like to connect the two of them because it doesn't make sense otherwise sometimes. But they're like, oh wait, here's the thing that connects the two.
So Mike's it's the first day of college.
Yeah,
and Mike's all gung ho for his first day of college at Monsters U. And let me tell you, I'm impressed by. This is 2013. I'm still impressed by this animation.
Yes.
I think this animation still holds up. I love the fact that there are at least 400 different monsters. Mm-hmm. And I swear all of them you can see on this campus during this scene. I think this scene's a great scene. I think it's... I don't know. I really like it. I think it expands it. When we talk about expanding a universe, this kind of does in a way where it kind of shows a little bit more of different monsters. I don't think it quite connects the way that we talk about expanding.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the fact that like here is, college life through a monster.
Yes, like seeing another aspect of their world, I was like, okay, yeah, I got you. Okay. I'll say this, like, I am very impressed by the visuals too. Like, they do an excellent job, and I love seeing the Pixar stuff over the years, how much it's changed. Like, going back and looking at A Bug's Life and like the original Toy Story compared to this is like night and day.
Yeah.
I still think the original Monsters Inc. looks good, but obviously they've
even that like because I watched this when I watched Monsters University. I watched it after Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
like a double feature.
Yes.
And even that like has gotten better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like his fur and hair and like all this other stuff. Yeah, it still looks better.
Yeah. It's more detailed.
Yes, I still thought it looked good before, and now it looks amazing. I think the thing about the world expanding, like I'm kind of the reverse with you here, because while it does do a little bit of world expansion, like we learn more about like there's a university, and there's a university. There's like a technical school. They talk about like Scare Tech or whatever it is. And we learn there's other energy companies, not just Monsters Inc. There's like Scareco or Fearco. That's
Fearco.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We learn in the end montage. But there's little stuff like that. So like we kind of know about the world. But like I really wanted, I think, and again, back to the thing that kind of disappointed me when I found out this was going to be a prequel, is I wanted it to be a continuation of the last movie so that we could see more into, like, the monsters universe. Like, not just this one aspect of the university, because really we were pretty much there for the whole time. I wanted to see more of the world more of their world out there, and like other things that were going on, because obviously they have a fully functioning society. So I wanted to see more of that.
So this is where I disagree. I think you do see it.
And I think you see an aspect of it.
Right. I think you see an aspect of it. And I think that pertains to this movie. Having said that, this is not a sequel or a prequel that we needed to have.
Right.
But since we have it, I think that it's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I still think it's good. I just think we could have had more. But and like I think like I'm not the biggest fan of like the college, like
the genre of college movies.
Yeah, like the Animal House and
Revenge of the Nerds, Animal House kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it either, but I understand it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that pertains to me going through collegiate understandings.
Well, okay, the first movie is basically China syndrome for children. And then the second
kind of,
and then the second movie
is Animal House.
The first movie's about like an energy crisis where like there's alternative sources of energy, but like big energy is covering it up.
Yeah.
And trying to kill people who are getting in their way.
Yeah.
And this one is like, oh, you chugged too much and partied too hard, and now you failed the big fight.
Right.
Like,
and I believe that if you were going to do this movie should have been first.
Yeah.
And even that, it probably shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? That's why I'm saying that there's no reason for this movie to exist.
Yeah.
Right? Since it does exist, I can, and I'm, because we watched it, and since it does exist, I can see why it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I
can get past the fact that it shouldn't exist.
Yeah. I almost wish like I would be more comfortable with this if I knew there was another Monsters Inc. coming somewhere behind it. Like if they were like, oh yeah, it's a 2-movie thing. We got the prequel that shows up in between to tell you some of the history, and then we're gonna have another one.
Right. And let's say like the reason why we had the prequel was there's stuff in the prequel that will tie into the third movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For instance, like the Nathan Fillion character is going up against them for some reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we have more of a backstory of that.
He works
I don't know,
here,
something. You know what I mean? Like maybe that would be kind of a reason why
Or
that you have.
Now, like Squishy is evil.
Or something. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But we are getting into characters that are we have not talked about yet. So let's get going on that. Maybe
we should maybe just talk about the other people who are in the fraternity.
Sure, let's go.
So they go to was it Uzma Kappa?
Sure.
So they're basically, you see all of it's like your standard PCU and whatever, where they're walking through looking at groups of people.
It is like PCU meets like the Revenge of the Nerds.
It's just your like boilerplate. It's like a college movie.
It is, but I love that like Pixar did that. I don't know why. It just I love that Disney Pixar was all like, let's do a college movie, but do it in the vein of
yeah, it's fine. So you get I should mention the House Bunny. I think if you want to look, it's like a sorority version of all
Should you
those
mention the House Bunny? Should you really?
Yeah.
Come on.
I want to make sure that we're covering both sorority and fraternity movies.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, but so they get to
Pitch Perfect. There was a little bit of Pitch Perfect in here too.
Agreed. Yeah, very much so. So they're going through and they're looking at like everybody who's on campus, and you see like all these different groups as Mike is walking by, and they talk about, you see all these fraternities, and like so like the big ones is the Alpha House. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's Revenge of the Nerds. It's Roar Omega Roar.
But kind of in a way, it is.
Yeah.
It is and the animal, well, not even Animal House, Revenge of the Nerds, kind of where. Which is funny because I keep saying that because John Goodman was in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes, he was. The interesting thing, like, I thought it was cute how they did this, but like, it is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine coming from like the Greek system for college, like when people just like make up the random Greek like word name, whatever it is. Like it happens in so many movies, but like at this point I'm pretty much over it. I know it's coming. So, but at least this movie, they I think do it the best of any movie. Like there's no like, this is I felt a thigh. It's like they have there's like Uzma Kappa. There's,
oh, you mean like where the fraternity or the sorority is kind of like a pun itself? Is that what you mean?
Roar, Alpha,
I hate that.
You hated that?
Oh, I hate
like
that.
Hiss?
Oh yeah, I hate.
No, the one in this movie?
Not the ones in this movie,
No,
but like the ones
movie,
that like
it works.
Oh, it works.
Yeah.
But like in certain movies where it doesn't, you're
Yeah.
like, ugh, because you feel like they're just pounding it over your head.
Or they're like, it's Kappa Omega or Kappa, Kappa Omicron Kappa, and I'm like, oh, because it spells cock. I get it.
God,
like,
haha, great.
No, in this movie, it's adorable.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I was like, like because each of the names fit their fraternity, and they look good, like with the Greek letters and everything. Not that they're accurate or anything like that, but I don't think they have to be, because like maybe in the monster world, Uzma is a Greek letter.
So the pricky, the big men on campus, sorority or fraternity. Sorry, the fraternity. Who Nathan Fillion voices, correct? Johnny, right?
Yeah.
So Nathan Fillion, and then we got Bobby Moynihan.
Yeah, Chet, his kind of dumb crab sidekick.
Sure.
Played by Bobby Moynihan.
Yeah, they're the guys that everyone wants to. Oh, they're the popular group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got the kind of nerdy, dorky underachiever.
Well, we have like the preppy girls.
We have the preppy girls. But I'm just talking about our main ones.
Yes, and then we have the Uzma Kappa.
The ones that Mike joins, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And so we have
these are our main characters.
Yep. So we have Don, who's kind of this upper Midwestern monster with a big mustache.
Sure.
I'm a little bit older of a character, but I figured I might as well start over and try getting into something new. And
he was a non-trad.
Yeah, he was a salesman.
I'm a non-trad.
Yeah.
Voiced by.
I almost called him Don Murray. Joel Murray.
Yes.
Plays Don. So Bill Murray's brother, Joel Murray. He sounds mostly like Brian Doyle Murray. He's perfect for this part, I think.
Okay.
And he's got little tentacle hands. And then there are the two-headed monster. I guess they're twins. Terry with an eye, and there's Terry with an eye, who is voiced by Sean Hayes and is a dance major, and Terry with a Y, who just mostly is straight-laced and drinking a cup of coffee, voiced by Dave Foley. And I think this is a great, like, this character, like, I don't think they did enough with him. Like,
I don't think they did either. No, I don't think they used him.
Yeah, they didn't use, like, Dave Foley was great in there. Like, there's a line where he's like, I'm a, Terry with an eye goes, well, I'm a dance major, blah, blah, blah. And the other Terry goes, and I am not. And he just drinks a
cup of coffee. Very Dave Foley.
Yeah, very Dave Foley.
And I'm not.
Yeah. And then we have Art, who looks like he's like a cartoon. He looks like a child's drawing, who's like kind of a weird fuzzy rainbow with like little arms.
A fuzzy rainbow mop, kind of.
Yeah, who is like
thing.
super optimistic, and then like sometimes like he'll just zone in on stuff.
But I love what they did with his physicality.
Yes.
In the movie, which we'll talk about.
They have a lot of great like pauses, like the way the lines are delivered. Like there'll be just like weird random pauses with him where he's just like looking at things, and like you see his little eyes dart around. But he goes from being super happy to being like depressed for a second and then happy again. Great. Well done. Voiced by Charlie Day. And then you have, last but not least, Squishy, voiced by Peter Sohn. And who's actually mostly an animator director. He is a voice actor as well. Yeah, he's done a lot of Pixar stuff.
Right. Well, he started with Iron Giant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of like Brad Bird did Iron Giant.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So he did a voice in. He did the voice in The Good Dinosaur.
Wasn't he also the kid from Up?
Was he the kid?
Yeah, I think he's the kid from Up.
No, I don't think.
I think he's Russell. He says Russell, the boy in Up. He voiced,
but not in the whole thing.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure
he was Emile. He was the brother in Ratatouille.
Okay, not the whole thing though.
Yeah,
not the whole movie.
The brother. Of
well,
Ratatouille.
Why can't it be the whole movie in Up?
Why can't it be the whole movie?
Why can't it be the whole movie in Up? But it's got to be half the movie of Up. But it's all Ratatouille.
Russell was voiced by Jordan Nagel.
Okay. Well, it says Russell.
He did it for whatever short thing.
Okay.
Video short. He probably had to fill in because the kid was done.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it works. Like I could totally see him doing that role too. But
yes, I can too.
Squishy is, I have to tell you, is probably my favorite character of this movie. I think he's a breakout. I love him. I always wondered why.
Okay. He's okay.
I always wondered because they have Monsters University.
We collect Pez.
Yes.
And I've always wondered the same thing. What's this weird thing with 12 eyes?
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this important in Monsters University? And now that we've watched it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why.
Yeah, he is fantastic. So the ones they had were, of course, were Mike, you have Randall, you have Sully, and then Squishy, who looks like the kid from Up in monster form.
Maybe that's why I'm doing him.
Yeah, I think, and then maybe that's
he does look like the kid from Up. But
he does,
like
right?
7 eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So no, I love Squishy. He's very optimistic,
right?
And like he's very sweet and soft spoken, and he almost is like, he's almost kind of creepy just by. Because he's so quiet when he moves around. Like, they have a couple times where he sneaks up accidentally just because he's so quiet. And I think he's animated very adorably too. It's just, he looks like he's made of like bubble gum. Like he's made of like
kind of in
squishy.
a way.
Yeah.
So we can't forget that Mike's roommate at the beginning of the movie is Randall.
Yeah.
Who again is voiced by Steve Buscemi, who's actually a nice guy. So we actually find out the genesis of the reason why Randall's kind of mean in a way in the first movie, which I kind of like.
Yes,
kind of like that. Like the reason why it's because of Mike.
Well, you know I think that you thought because he's like, oh, you're going to meet your roommate, and I think everybody probably thought it was going to be Sully.
Yeah, you just thought it was.
Yeah, and the door opens and it's Randall, and he's super nice, and they're talking to one another, him and Mike, and then he's like, he goes invisible, and he's like, oh, sorry, I shouldn't have done that, and Mike is like, no, that's awesome, you should use that, make it work for you.
Yeah, except lose the glasses.
Except lose the glasses, because the glasses are still there, so you need to lose those so that people can see you. And he goes, oh, and so he takes them off, and when he doesn't have them on, he's squinting, which explains why, like, in the Monsters, Inc., because he's always kind of, like, glaring at everybody. That explains why. It's because he can't see very well.
Mm-hmm. So we go to the scare classes.
Yeah.
And that's where we actually meet Sully for the first time. And Sully is a big time. His family was involved in the scaring. He was a scarer back in the day.
He's a legacy.
So he's a legacy. So this is actually a story that deals with book smarts as opposed to street smarts, and how one isn't better than the other one, and one isn't worse than the other one.
Yeah.
They are just techniques that people use, and I like that. I like that this is a story that brings that. You know what I mean? Not a lot of you would say cartoons kind of deal with that, or let alone movies in general deal with the fact that, you know, you don't have to be book smart to be good at a job, and you don't have to be street smart to be good at a job. You know what I mean? Because technically they're both at the same position at the end of the movie, which is kind of the start of the first movie.
Now, so his Sully's parents, like his dad, obviously is pretty famous.
Yes.
How much do you think that he had to pay to get him into Monsters University?
So what people don't know is that Sully's dad actually isn't really a scarer. He's actually a fashion designer, and his mom used to be on a situation comedy back in the 80s called Scary Your House.
Full Haunted House.
Full Haunted House. Boy, the joke was right there, and I didn't even do it. I was thinking that too, especially when Mike is first walking on the campus, and we see the crew.
Yes.
The crew team, and I'm like, oh no, so many jokes in my head right now.
So they had like a nice little touch. They had this like underwater class for like underwater monsters, or like more aquatic creatures. And I was like, oh, I want to know more about that. Like that seemed really interesting.
Well, also the fact that like there is also technical schools for like building the doors, building the encapsulations of the
canisters.
The canisters, yes. Yeah. When someone gets scared. Like all this. And I kind of enjoy that aspect of like knowing kind of the genesis of where all that comes from, or learning about how that it gets made. I don't think we tackle that a lot in this movie, but hey, it is there. So we are going to talk about the main plots of the movie, which is the fact that they both get kicked out of the scare school class for knocking over a big canister thing that Helen Mirren's character, like what was that?
So Helen Mirren's character, Dean Hardscrabble, is a pretty creepy monster.
Originally, they had it as a male.
Really?
But they were like, we have too many male characters.
Yeah.
Let's make it a female.
I agree. And she does an excellent job. And, like, the thing is, like, it's weird. My feelings towards this character are a little strange. Like, so she is very tough, but I don't, like, hate her. I'm not, like, she's not a jerk about it. She's just like, hey, I'm just, she's like any professor who cares about her field. She's not plotting against them. She's not trying to screw them over. Like, she's just like, I don't think you can cut it, and holds them accountable.
Mm.
They're in class, and while they're getting ready to do scare demonstrations for their final, Mike and Sully start kind of trying to, get their scares ready. And while they're doing it, they kind of get a little physical, and then they both fall and hit the canister that was like the all-time scare record for the professor, for Dean Hardscrabble. It was her like one souvenir from her scaring days, and they busted it. And so she was like, all right, you know what? Let's do the test right now. Show me your best scare. And like Mike doesn't even get to go, and she's like, sorry, you fail, you're out. And then Sully just does one scare. She's like, you didn't even let me tell you like what the scenario was. And he goes, I don't need to. All I need to do is just be big and scary. And she's like, it's not how it works. Like,
right. She's kind of setting up the fact that like it's not necessarily book smarts, or it's not necessarily street smarts. It's almost working together as putting those two together, and how like both Sully doesn't have the book smarts and Mike doesn't have the street smarts. Yeah, the technique of it. Yeah. So they get kicked out of scare school, and Mike finds a way to get back in, and that's called the
scare games.
The scare games.
Yeah.
And basically, it's just another take on these college games that you do have.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun. And the dean is there because the dean kind of founded the scare games.
Yes.
And they make a little bet, and Mike says, if I win, we get to go back into the scare school.
Yeah, my whole group does.
My whole group does.
Yeah.
Which is the okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Fraternity.
The Ooze.
Yeah.
The Ooze Kappa.
The Ooze Kappa. And fine. If you lose, then you have to leave Monsters University forever.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're not going to lose. Haha.
Yeah.
And Sully joins that group, and yeah. And so a couple scenes that are important to talk to are the first round of events that happen, which is that little tunnel kind of scene where...
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first scene, the first game is basically they have to, like when they go into a kid's room, they have to avoid like all of the junk that's on the floor, any toys or anything, because you don't want to alert the kid or the adults who are out there. So you got to be kind of quick on your feet. So they're like, you have to run through here and, get to the light on the other side. Since toys are toxic, like human toys are actually toxic, because that's what they thought. They were like, we have these other things that are these like prickly barbs that glow, and if you get stuck with them, you basically balloon up wherever they touch you. It was a gross effect, but fun.
But fun. And they look like those stickers you get like when you walk into a field. Yes, cockaburs. Yeah. Yeah.
And
so the one-eyed monster and his cockaburrs. Yeah. So
the one-eyed monster was so engorged he was.
Yes. But what happens in this scene is that Mike and Sully think that they're going up against each other, and they're not. Yes. They're going up against the other teams.
Yes.
So the whole team has to cross the finish line, but they don't. They just are selfish jerks, and they make it, but like their team doesn't make it, so they end up in last place.
Yes.
But one of the other teams,
they
cheated.
Would have been eliminated.
Yeah.
Except for the other team cheated, and when that happened, they got to stay in.
So we're still in.
Yes.
Now is the next event the library scene?
Library.
Oh, yeah. I love this scene.
So you know what I will say is cool about this. So basically, the whole premise is you have to get across the library silently, because the librarian will come after you if you make any sound. And she is this giant, like, tentacled monster who will chase you down and like throw you out. You see one monster who like makes some sound, and she throws him out of the skylight. So all these teams are silently moving across to get their flags together. Now, the thing I like about this is that the librarian, who is the slug, or who with the tentacle things, it just shows you how far they've come in their animation. Because originally, Sully was supposed to have tentacles, like he was supposed to be a tentacle monster, but it was tough to do those in the previous films. Like you had like an octopus or something like that, but you didn't have Sully with him because it would have been too hard to animate.
Right.
So yeah, it was. I thought it was pretty cool. She has the giant tentacles that are just flying around, and
I love the fact that like the team starts to work together, and then they realize that it's not necessarily that you have to be quiet in order to make it. You just have to not get caught, which I love that.
Yes.
And so they just start making distractions, for each other.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I'm over here, and so she doesn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And they have to grab the flag that has their fraternity on it. So they finally all make it out, but they're like, oh no, we forgot the flag. But
Squishy got it.
Yeah, Squishy got it.
Because it was all about, because they were, by this point they're like, what can we do? Like, what are our skills?
Yeah.
And you realize Don, like with his little suction cup tentacle things, like they get stuck to stuff really easily, especially when he's sweaty. And so, like in this, he sticks to the floor and he makes a bunch of sound inadvertently, which brings the librarian away from Sully, who is making a bunch of racket trying to get the flag. And so it goes after Don. So then Art is like, hey, wait a minute, and starts making a bunch of sound somewhere else. And like they're all making sound and kind of distracting her. And they grab everybody and go. And that's when like Squishy, who or like Terry and Terry, we talk about like how they're good at close-up magic because it's all about the art of distraction.
Right.
And so later, when they're like, we didn't get the flag, and they go, the art of distraction, and Squishy has it then.
Right.
So
right,
good old Squishy.
I also think he gets it because like no one's paying attention to him because he's just so like just there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like so, that's his scare technique.
So quiet and
it's
just like
he's so quiet. He's just like he'll just look at you and you're like ah. Yeah. So then there's a montage of them kind of like, coming in second to a lot of the races and stuff like that until the end, the last big finale event, which is of course with them and our bad fraternity guys.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to be the good guys versus the bad guys.
Yes.
And here is it's kind of interesting. It's a scare kind of like how would you describe this? Like a scare.
It's like a scare off.
Scare off kind of in a way. Each one of them go up and try to see how well they can scare. Yeah. Like the module, not the module, but the how do I want to put it?
The mark. The kid.
Yes, but it's simulation.
Yes, the one-eyed monster is stimulation. And it's a simulation of like what they'll run into on the floor. They get a card that says like what the kid, like what their particular fears are, and then you have to pick the right scare tactic to get them. And so it's actually really interesting. Like the Roar Omega Roar is just a bunch of big monsters, so they get all like they're doing fairly well. A couple of them get rattled accidentally because they, like as an example, like Sully goes in, makes this massive roar, and when he does that, it shakes the other booth, and Randall, who's in there trying to scare somebody, falls onto a heart. Like a pink and white striped rug with hearts on it, and he changes that color. And so then the kid is not scared. So, he is basically seen to be a fraud because of that. He also has each of them go through their thing. My favorite though is Squishy. I had to watch it a couple times. It shows it from the kid's perspective. The kid sits up and he looks, and you see Squishy standing at the end of his bed, and he pans over and then he pans back and it's gone. And then the kid looks around and turns to the right, and Squishy is just standing there looking all dead-eyed. And the kid just screams. It was the creepiest, legitimately creepiest thing. It was so good. But earlier, Sully had talked with the dean, who basically was like, look, do you really think that Mike is the scariest? And he goes, he's done all this stuff. He's like, he taught us all to be scary. He's done these great things. He's done this, this, and this. Like, basically talks about how great this guy is. And she goes, yes, but do you think he's scary? Do you think he could scare anybody? And Sully can't answer that because he knows that he doesn't think Mike can. He doesn't have it. And she's like, great. So when you guys fail still, you're out. So, Squishy goes and Sully goes. And then it's Mike versus the big guy. Versus Johnny from Roar Omega Roar. And they go in there, and Mike does some genuinely creepy stuff. He scratches the bedpost, and he flicks the curtains as he goes by, and so the kid's looking around.
Sure.
He jumps up and he roars, and it's through the roof. The scares are through the roof with that.
Yeah.
And
we won.
Yeah, they won. So it was awesome. So I thought that scene was good. The scaring was good.
I thought it was too, but I thought what progressed after that I did not like.
See, that's when I started liking it.
Yeah, it's just when I
are really opposite.
Yeah, we're very opposite on this movie. This is when I was like, ugh, okay, because I don't like when they were trapped in the other world. Yeah. I really don't. I thought that was just I thought, what was the point of all that before if you were then just going to be trapped in the other world? And I thought they both get kicked out of college, and then they do this amazing thing where we'll talk about it, where they so Mike realizes that Sully set the machine.
He goes boo.
Yeah.
Just jokingly, and the kid.
So he realizes that he set the machine up right. He made his levels to be easy instead of hard like the other people. And so he doesn't like that, and so he runs off. And I'm like, I just wanted a heartfelt, conversation between Mike and them. But I guess they had to work together, as book smarts and street smarts, in order for this movie to continue, for this movie to have its full effect. And I get that, but I felt like, why are we going into that universe, or why are we going into the real universe?
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, so he gets mad and he runs off to where they're building the doors.
Yes,
right
in the lab where they're designing.
Yes,
them.
And he steals a key and he decides to go through one of the doors.
Yeah, so Mike goes through.
Yeah, to prove that I can scare. So he goes up to scare one of the girls, and he realizes, the girl goes, "You're funny looking," or you're not really that scary looking, and she kind of laughs at him. That's when he realizes, he has that epiphany that he's like, I'm not scary.
And then he also realizes he's in a summer camp.
Yes.
So it's in a bunk filled with girls. Who are not scared of him.
Who are not scared of him at all.
Yeah. Right. And so, of course, all hell's breaking loose in the other world, in the monster world. They're trying to get through all of this. The dean has locked everything down, and Sully's like, I have to go get Mike. Well, and Sully had already told the dean earlier, he realized, you know what, I need to come clean with this. So he goes and he tells Mike, or goes and tells her, hey, this is not Mike's fault. It's not the rest of my team's fault. It's this. Do what you want with me, but let them get back in the program.
Right, like I said, they both kind of have a way of getting kicked out of monsters.
And so he gets expelled.
But he realizes that to what Mike did, and he goes and tries to help him.
Yeah,
because he's
and so
his
the
friend.
team distracts while he gets in there.
Yeah.
So he goes through the Sully. When he gets there, the cops are already at the summer camp, and so he's trying to like dodge them and go find Mike. And we get the scene where like Mike is sitting by the water, and he's just like, I couldn't do it, you did this, it's terrible, blah blah blah, and it thought it was almost a little too close to the first movie where they're in the Himalayas, where they have that very like quiet, heartfelt moment.
Yeah, that's why I was like, this again.
Although, like, when they did it, I actually thought it was better here than in the first one.
Okay.
Like, that scene was always kind of weird for me.
Well, so they locked him in, so they're like,
yeah,
they can't get out. So Mike says, we can make enough scare energy to like make that door open.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that?
Yeah, there's nobody here.
Well, here I can think of I've got the logistics, I've got the facts, and I've got all the skills
about scaring.
I can set up the whole scare thing, and you with your street smarts can go and scare the living shit out of him.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is, it's like, they say, like, once you get a teenager, you're done trying to scare them.
Yeah.
They're not going to be scared anymore.
Right.
And so
Sully's like, I can't scare these policemen
because
that
these
have
are
come in.
adults, like 6 adults. Yeah. And he's like, I can't do it. And so Mike's like, follow my lead.
And let me tell you, that scene, I liked that scene
That
of it.
scene is fantastic.
Because it's so creepy and kind of like scary in itself. Not like, it's almost like a cartoon horror movie in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
There's like little curtains going. There's like dolls that are just randomly.
Finally,
walking.
he just scares the living shit out of him so much. Not only does it open the door, but it starts breaking the canisters inside on the other side where the classroom's at. I mean, it starts breaking everything, and they end up like almost. Well, they break the door and they come up on the other side. Yeah,
they manage to jump through the door right as it's getting like overloaded, and it blows up behind them.
Yeah.
But the dean is trapped in there. She seals the lab shut before then when she shut it down, so that they couldn't get back through. And so she's seeing all this happening, and she's like, "How did this happen?" And she seems like genuinely like they didn't make her evil about it. She was just very like, "Wow, how did you do that?"
Right.
And I was like, okay, so this is how they get back in the university.
Right, you would think, right? That's why I was like, well, they got to get back in somehow, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I felt. Like,
well,
they got to have something, right? And so, that's why I didn't like it. Well, that's just me. But anyway, so now they're both kicked out. They're both expelled.
Yeah.
They're saying their goodbyes to, their friends.
Yeah.
And so, which is a nice touching scene, which is the scene I wanted instead of the scene that, of going over. So, he says that you've done so much for us. Thank you. Even Sully's like, look, you might not be scary, but you're fearless, which is great, which is a great line, which I love at the end of it. And then the dean flies down, and I'm like, okay, the dean's gonna like accept them again, right? This is where she's gonna, where she goes,
undo everything.
Oh no, I was wrong because you've done you've done things I've never thought anyone could do, but you're still expelled.
Yes,
and I'm like, oh,
that's
damn
so
it,
weird to me.
And so
weird.
And so Mike goes, I know how to get into,
He's like, well, why don't we? Which is an interesting message where he's like, look, we
don't need college.
We didn't go through the college way.
Right.
So we'll do it a different way. We'll do it our way.
Yeah.
And so they started at the bottom in the mailroom.
Right. Which I love.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you don't need to necessarily go through the steps of your collegiate, after high school to achieve something.
Which we hear more and more.
You hear more and more of like
you
that.
You really don't got
it. Even back in 2013, you never really did.
No.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, kudos, I guess, Disney for bringing that, So I guess they don't have to, they don't have that much school debt to pay off.
True.
Yeah.
Only a semester.
Right.
Ish.
So, and then they're in the mailroom, and that's when we see all the mail come down, and then we get a nice cameo from the
Abominable
The
Snowman.
Abominable Snowman.
Who says, hey, kid, hey, you guys, don't be careful with that. If you tamper with the mail, it's grounds for banishment.
Which is funny.
Because he was banished in the first movie.
Huh. So I would say you've been deuced with this movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
So should we do our 5 questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of this movie?
My favorite part of this movie is the camaraderie that you have with the fraternity. Once they start training, once they start believing in themselves, Mike might not be a good monster, but he's a good trainer at monsters. If you can't do, you teach, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so that's what I felt like. Maybe they'll have Mike come back to school and he'll be a teacher of teaching some of these, even though we know what he does. But you know what I mean. I'm like, come on, it's just like, why? But I think my favorite part is the fact that we do get these other creatures that are part of kind of a gang, and it is one of those stories of the dorks and the jocks.
Yeah.
The typical story that we get. But I kind of enjoyed it in this rendition. I don't know why.
Yeah. I would say, honestly, my even though I'm not big on that college story, I love the exact same thing. I love the interactions with that group, and to me, it's very heartfelt, and the characters themselves, while they have these goofy traits, none of them are like, hey, you're just the nonstop butt of the joke, or you're less than.
Yes.
They all have their strengths.
They all have their strengths. Yeah.
And those come together so well.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yes.
One other thing, I don't know if you noticed it that much, but it's very subtle. But there's a lot of imagery with Mike crossing lines.
Yes.
And every time that happened, I was like, yeah, because it was like he was taking another step. He was breaking a barrier that he had for himself.
Yes.
And
I loved that.
It's very subtle. I
don't remember that from the first movie.
No, it was this one.
Right. Because I think he just has the confidence.
He did it when it was coming off the bus.
Yes.
At the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He did it when he
was going to college.
Don't cross the line to go onto the scare floor when he was a kid. And everybody's right up to the line, and he's the only one who crossed it. When he goes to college, when he first steps onto the university campus, he does it. When he steps off of the campus, when they get expelled, he does it. He stops and kind of looks at the line and steps over it. And then he does it when at the very end of the movie too.
Also the fact that this movie teaches people and kids, because it's for kids, teaches kids that it's not necessarily you can have goals, and goals are important, right?
Yes.
But sometimes those goals aren't necessarily where you go.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Once you complete those goals, that doesn't mean that's what you were meant to do.
Yeah.
You might find a different path in the process of trying to obtain those goals.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. Okay, you said it nicer.
No, so I really did enjoy that. Does this make you want to watch the first movie?
Absolutely makes me want to watch the first one. I love Monsters Inc. I love it because I love the whole. It's adorable, but not adorable monsters, because they are monsters. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that aspect. I've always loved that aspect of Monsters Inc. But this movie makes me want to watch Monsters Inc. even more.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
And for some reason, it makes me want to watch Pitch Perfect, but that's besides the point. So it makes you want to watch Monsters Inc.?
Yeah, I'm always up for watching Monsters Inc. Like I said, I like the China Syndrome.
China Syndrome is amazing.
Yeah. No, it is. It's the first one is it's definitely it's like the Pelican
Renewal Brief.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Did you say the Pelican Brief?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Then but with
less Denzel Washington.
Yeah, and
Julia Roberts.
Other things are as scary as Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I saw another monster let's breathe heavily into the mic.
Okay, go ahead.
But no, it does definitely make me watch the first. Do you think this movie stands up on its own?
Yes, and there's a reason why I think it does. I think it stands on its own. Like, I think you can watch this movie without watching the first one. Having said that, watching the first one, I think it's better if you watch the first one first.
Yeah.
Because you get some of the inside jokes. But even if you don't, that doesn't mean that you're going to lose the first movie, right? Like, you're not going to lose the impacts and power of the first movie by watching this one first.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I was going to say watch this one first and then watch the second one, you could still do that. Mm-hmm. And I still think that it stands on its own.
Yes.
I think, like you said, there's stuff at the end that you would maybe have more questions about.
Yes.
Than the beginning. But that far, it's too far into it that you're like, it doesn't matter.
Well, none of that would have, it wasn't like plot.
It wasn't plot points, yeah.
Question it.
Yeah.
But I think, again, like, it would, there's definitely things that would be enhanced by having seen the first one, like Roz at the end, or like...
Right, exactly. You're like, who's that?
The number one, yeah. Or like seeing, because they kind of explain the energy thing in this one, but they don't explain it as much detail as they do in the original. Right. And so, like, I definitely think it holds up on its own. But again, the first one just enhances it even more. Let's see. Would you reboot, continue, or cancel?
There are no talks right now of making a third Monsters movie, which would be Monsters Inc. 2, because technically it would not be 3, right? If we're going to do that correctly. There was talks about when that the second one wouldn't be a sequel or a prequel like the first one, like this one was. Yeah. So this one was actually going to be a sequel set into the fact of like finding like Boo's family moved, and so they would have to go search for her. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. Which I'm okay with that too. I just think continue. I like this universe. Yeah. Enough.
I say continue as well. I think you need to
Did they make a cartoon? I thought there was a cartoon.
Yeah, I think there was for a little bit. I think you need to be careful though because of the age of some of the kids, some of the actors, but
I think you do too.
But
I think you could make this a trilogy and still be fine.
Yes, I agree. I agree. But yeah, I would definitely continue sooner rather than later.
I would too.
And maybe dealing with like Boo as an adult, or like something where maybe the two worlds are aware of each other, or something. Right. So, or
from what I understood, what I was reading, it would be more kind of like almost a Peter Pan complex in a way with Boo. Which I was thinking about that too as well.
Where she wouldn't want to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. That would be, I would watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess we're to our last question.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your experience in 2 words.
Unnecessarily enjoyment. Meaning that this prequel did not really need to happen. Right? There's no reason for this movie to be made. It doesn't advance anything in particular for the first movie. It doesn't make the first movie better. This movie, I don't think it does. There's no reason for us to be all like, oh, Mike and Sully, the college years, right? Having said that, it has a sweetness to it that, yes, does remind me of the first one, but also kind of reminds me of more of your younger salad days of just kind of trying to find yourself. And so I enjoy that. I think this movie, I like this movie more now as an adult than let's say I would if I watched it, as a kid. You know what I mean? I feel like even though there's not like adult humor in it, I feel like there's adult topics in it. And I feel like you get more out. I think that's why it doesn't fare well in like ranking wise, which is a shame. I think if you look back into it, I think this is a better movie than people. I don't think it's better than the first one by any means, but I think this is better than putting it on like a list of like and having it 17 or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's where they put it with Pixar movies.
Oh really?
They put it like with Cars 3.
Ooh.
And I don't think that is anywhere near Cars 3.
Like,
but I get like people like, but it's not necessary. You don't need this movie.
Yes, yeah.
So go ahead. You're too.
I'm to that point. I think that there are definitely some Pixar movies I like more than others, but honestly, like I don't think there's any Pixar movie that I can't watch and find something enjoyable in. I think they turn out fine products. Even Cars 3, like
it's fine, but I think there's movies that you would want to watch over and over again.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I don't think this is necessarily one of those movies.
No, it's not. No.
But having said that, if this movie was on, I wouldn't change the channel.
Yeah. But okay, so my 2 words, by the way, are without honors. So
because you wanted Joe Pesci to be in it?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Joe Pesci is a monster from that world.
This used to be our playground, but keep going.
No, I think it's a fine movie. It gets you across the finish line. Like, it's enjoyable. It's all these things, but there's nothing in there that makes me go, this is one of the tip-top best.
Yep.
It's just passable. It's without honors, but it got there. It just doesn't get the same accolades for me.
I think this movie is a cash grab that works.
Yeah.
As opposed to a cash grab that doesn't.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. So you've been Deuce on everything Monsters U or Monsters University. Technically it's Monsters University, right? Not Monsters U. Even though his hat says MU. All right, we're going to continue our prequels to sequels, our Loose Deuce series, with our next movie. And next week we'll be doing Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. That's right, the second Indiana Jones movie to be released. But it is a prequel to all of the Indiana Jones movies.
That is true.
So look forward to that one. But for now, folks, the sequel is king.